rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk will read the roll of members.
Councilor Zabit.
Present.
Councilor Garcia.
Present.
Councilor Taylor.
Here.
Councilor Recupero. Councilor Robinson.
Here.
Councilor Brown.
Here.
Councilor Rideau.
Present.
Councilor Maldonado.
Here.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilor Avellaneda.
Here.
And Councilor Lopez.
Here.
All members present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll now go on to readings of memoriams and celebratory resolutions.
We have a resolution introduced by Councilor Avellaneda and all members of the City Council. Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., an American Baptist and activist and the pastor of the historic Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, became a spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is worldly recognized for having possessed incredible courage, bravery, and dedication to advocate for racial equality through nonviolent resistance in the face of tremendous danger to his life and those around him. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. committed his life in pursuit of justice and unity amongst all Americans until his assassination in 1968. And whereas the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Public Service is celebrated each year on the third Monday of January to support and promote service and civic engagement to commemorate his legacy. And whereas the People's AME Church Planning Committee has invited the Reverend Dr. Gregory Grover, senior pastor of the historical Charles Street AME Church in Boston, to be the keynote speaker in collaboration with various community groups and businesses, such as CHS Reach, Chelsea Public Schools, Chelsea Black Community, CHS Interact Club, Chelsea City Council, Chelsea City Manager, Chelsea Girl Scouts, Chelsea Interfaith Alliance recognizes everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And whereas the People's AME Church Youth and Young Adult Coalition's Homeless Initiative, Project Opening Doors, along with the Rotary Club, Seller Ministries, and the Light of Christ Church, have united to support the homeless community in Chelsea. Now therefore be it that we welcome the new Chelsea Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Almi Abeta, and present awards to their Chelsea Public School Essay Contest winners who will share their I Have a Dream speeches, the Spirit Award winners, and the Young Adult Dreamers and Achievers Award winners. And whereas the People's AME Church Youth and Young Adult Coalition's Homeless Initiative, Project Opening Doors, along with the Rotary Club of Chelsea, the Soleil Ministries, the Salvation Army, and the Light of Christ Church have united their hearts and hands to support the homeless community in Chelsea. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the Chelsea City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Chelsea, hereby recognize the efforts of the People's AME Church, led by Reverend Dr. Sandra G. Whitley, and the Chelsea community, exemplifying true leadership and representing Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of unity and the beloved community.
Chair recognizes Councilor Robinson.
On behalf of the President, adopt this unanimously under suspension. And Pastor Whitley would like to extend an invitation to all City Council members to attend. There's been a change. It won't be at the high school, it will be at the Clark School, soon to be named the Morris Siegel School. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilor Brown.
Congratulate Reverend Dr. Whitley Whitley for her work and her continued dedication of supporting this event year in and year out. It's a time of year that we can celebrate and also remember the life and the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., all the work that he put in to provide the services, the opportunity that many of us have today. So we should never forget the dedication, his sacrifice, and his work. Again, as Councilor Robertson stated, this is a new place we'll be having it this year. Normally it's at the high school. This year will be at the school over here on Crescent Ave. It will start at 9 a.m. in the morning. And if we can, you should please try to get in contact with Reverend Whitley. She's trying to get the names of the elected officials that would like to attend. I will be in Everett. Well, every year, our church, we also celebrate the works and the life of Dr. King. We celebrate it at the same time. It's always a juggle for me to juggle the trip from Everett to Chelsea, but I'm hoping to be there. And again, this is a great opportunity. If you don't know about him, if you just heard about him, it's an opportunity to go in and hear him. And so it's a great event, and it's really a good event for our community to come out and celebrate. Thank you.
Anyone else? None? The motion passes under suspension. I will now open up the portion of the meeting for public speaking. If there's any member in the audience who'd like to speak, please rise to the podium, state your name and address.
My name is Roman A. Pucko, 191 Linfield Street, Peabody, Mass., a Vietnam-era veteran and a member of Polish American Veterans Post 13 of Chelsea since December 1965. Chelsea is my hometown. Welcome to the new members of the City Council, welcome to the returning members of the City Council, and welcome to the new president, Roy Avellaneda, our president. I'm asking to have money appropriated for improvements to Carter Street to maximize parking available on one side, or which I believe it might be the even side. I think curbing is required in certain areas, resurfacing is required, sidewalks require a lot of repair, and maybe if the traffic is coming down too fast, you can have parking on one side and then parking on another to slow it down, or install speed bumps. It's used by many students and also the faculty. And also, as far as parking, paint available parking spots so we can have defined parking spots. Also, solar panel, slow signs with flashing lights could be installed. And there's a lot of improvements that can be made. I pray that the new Broadway from Bellingham Square to Everett Ave and Cross Street works. Monitoring and enforcement is the key. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Maria Belén Power, and I'm a Chelsea resident. I'm also the Associate Executive Director of Green Roots. One of our areas of work is transit justice, and so I'm here to advocate for the bus lane pilot. Chelsea has two of the region's busiest buses, the 111 and the 116, 117, both of which go on Broadway. And we know that the 111 alone has 12,000 people a day. And so the prioritizing of both vehicular traffic as well as bus riders and emergency vehicles would send a strong message to the community and to the region in addressing some of the region's traffic congestion problems. And just a final point about what are other cities doing across the region. You know, Boston started with 1 bus lane last year, and at the end of 2020, it will have 9. And so it is a pattern and a trend that cities are using this tool as a small but very powerful tool to address traffic congestion in the region. And so I just urge you to approve and support a bus lane pilot on Broadway. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tony Hernandez. I live in 3 County Road, Chelsea. I want to congratulate the newly elected and the re-elected city councils. The question I have here is for the re-elected city councils. Last week, my wife just handed me the tax bill, and I almost had a heart attack. I don't know how can justify 39% tax increase on property. I don't know how the city, what formula they use. I see construction all over the place. I see multi-family buildings. Is everybody assessed to the cent? I mean, who is, how you come out with these numbers? My home is over 100 years old, and you got brand new houses and brand new buildings in here. How you access? How this formula works? Because I'm telling you right now, when I'm just surprised I'm the only one here. I guess nobody had looked at the tax bill, and I just happened to look at when this was passed and the section was given a 33 or 31%, whatever it was. Imagine if that wasn't given, what would we pay in here today? I just need an explanation for this. Thank you.
My name is Joseph Spinazzola. I live at 41 Pittman Ave in Wakefield, Massachusetts. Although my family, my mother's side originates from Chelsea. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the council. I wanted to let you know about the family trust that I oversee, the Foundation Trust. We have 9 primary catchment communities that rotate every year, and Chelsea is one of 3 communities eligible for grant funding in 2020. The letter of inquiry is due March 5th, and these funds are eligible for both nonprofit organizations as well as city-run programs for the benefit of the public. We have 4 priority areas: overcoming trauma and life adversity, youth and communities at risk, elder care, and the arts. And the Foundation Trust was established to sort of fill the gaps in funding, focusing on small to medium-sized organizations that try to serve the underrepresented and advance inclusivity. Last year, my experience was that the cities that actively got involved at the city council level in spreading the word to programs ended up submitting more applications than cities that didn't, and consequently received more funding from the foundation. The grants can range anywhere from $1,000 to $30,000, and they can be from 1 to 3 year grants, so they're not enormous, but they're not insubstantial. And my hope is that Chelsea will be well represented in applications for this year. I'm available for some cities and asked to have meetings convened with programs or city-run programs, nonprofit programs. We're certainly available to do that if that would be of assistance. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the City Council? If not, I will be closing that portion. Seeing now none, we will now move on to the next agenda item. We have approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt the item A and item B? Councilor Brown?
Make a motion that the minutes be adopted from our last meeting.
Under suspension. Moving on to item 6, communications from the city manager. We have a list of communications on budget matters, items A to H. Is there a motion to adopt all of them as one? And then I think we have other orders. Read the cover letters, because we got some coming up on the new business orders. City Clerk, will you please read cover letters for item A?
Request for approval of union contract with library employees. Pursuant to Section 4.3 of the Chelsea City Charter, I'm writing to request City Council approval for the cost items of the new collective bargaining agreement negotiated with the AFS-CME Local 708 covering library employees for the period July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2022. A copy of the memorandum of agreement is attached.
Can you read the last 2 paragraphs?
Of that one?
Yes.
The essence of the cost items of this particular agreement are the annual raises in the following amounts: FY20, 2.5%, FY21, 2.75%, and FY22, 3%. Because this union has just 4 members, the total cost of all wage increases over these 3 years is approximately $27,000. I respectfully ask that the City Council approve the cost items of this contract as well as a transfer from the salary reserve account in the amount of $4,500 to accommodate the FY20 cost. Copies of the proposed orders are attached.
Coming up on the new business.
Clerk will read item B.
Request for transfer for acquisition of automatic external defibrillators. Dear Councilors, I am writing with a request to transfer surplus capital funds in the Fire Department to allow for the purchase of new automatic external defibrillators. This request does not require any new funding. You may recall that within the FY20 Capital Improvement Plan, the City Council approved an expenditure of $50,000 for new SCBA cylinders, air tanks for the Fire Department. This was to replace existing cylinders and had reached the end of their service life. The Fire Department completed this purchase with 40 new 30-minute cylinders and 6 new 60-minute cylinders. Thankfully, the project came in under budget. There remains $11,818 in this account. The next project for the Fire Department is upgrading the existing inventory of the AEDs that are also reaching the end of their serviceable warranty life. He initially intended this project to commence in FY21. However, with this remaining balance from the SCBA cylinder project, the Chief will be able to start this AED replacement immediately. If the transfer of $11,818 for this new purpose is approved, the Chief will begin to phase out the AED units within his department and replace all 6 of the publicly deployed units, including those within City Hall. The new AED units are much easier to use and come equipped with a Spanish-speaking feature easily activated by the user. For the above reasons, I respectfully ask that the City Council to reallocate the $11,818 from the SCBA cylinder project of this new AED acquisition project. A draft of the necessary order to accomplish this transfer is attached.
Accept and file a communication under suspension. There'll be an order coming up on the new business.
Clerk will read item C.
The next communication, adoption of the MGLC 60 and 3F for Veterans Assistance Fund. Dear Councilors, I am writing to request that the City Council consider adopting as a local option the provisions of MGLC 60 and 3F so as to allow for the city to create a new fund to provide financial assistance to the veterans in need. The fund would be supported exclusively by voluntary donations by the city's taxpayers. The statute would allow the city to include with its tax bills a separate donation form for this purpose, similar to the form currently included with the tax bills for the Community Scholarship Fund. By statute, all the monies raised for this new Veterans Assistance Fund must be expended solely to provide support for veterans and their dependents in need of immediate assistance with food, transportation, or heating expenses. As you may be aware, the city has many veterans who struggle financially. Although the city, through its veteran service officers, does provide financial support to veterans, most of this financial assistance is constrained by strict eligibility requirements set by state and federal law. There is not a lot of discretion allowed on the part of the veterans agents. And this new voluntary Veterans Assistance Fund is created. The city would have discretion to establish local and potentially more generous eligibility criteria for the disbursement of these emergency funds. In essence, it would simply provide another source of assistance to veterans with some additional flexibility on expenditures. The City Veterans Agent strongly supports establishment of this new fund. I also support its creation. A draft order for adoption of the necessary local acceptance is attached.
Accept and file a communication under suspension. Just briefly, there are a number of communities who have adopted this to help those veterans who are having financial difficulties. There'll be an order coming up on the new business.
The next communication is on decision on design of one-way Broadway.
Clerk will read. I'll read it. Dear Councilors, as you know, for many months, we have been deliberating on the merits of various designs for a new one-way Broadway configuration from 5th Street to 2nd Street. The design of one-way Broadway from Second Street to William Street is the same in every scenario. The council has reviewed 4 alternatives for this design. 1, one lane of vehicular traffic with an unprotected bike lane. 2, one lane of vehicular traffic with a dedicated shared bus bike lane. 3, one lane of vehicular traffic.
I'll ask to waive the reading.
Thank you.
Waive the rest of the reading. Accept and follow communication is something coming up under new business.
The next communication is the status of development at Forbes, Midas, and Seidman sites. Dear councilors, I am writing in response to the recent City Council order requesting an update on development at the old Forbes, Midas, and Seidman sites. Each of these 3 developments received Zoning Board of Appeals approval for zoning relief during the course of calendar year 2019. The Forbes development, 590 units, decision filed September 16, 2019. Midas site, 38 units, decision filed May 22, 2019. And the Seidman site, 62 units, decision filed November 22, 2019. No work has commenced on any of these projects. Based upon my most recent conversations with owners' representatives on each site, progress is as follows. For Forbes, the owner's attorney informed me that some initial preliminary site work should be commencing in the spring. For Midas, as it is true for all affordable housing developments, the project requires government subsidies. The lead developer, Tragreth Companies, expects to seek such funding in the winter 2020 round. Most projects do require more than one round to secure funding, so it is unlikely that this project will commence in 2020. 6th Street also requires government subsidies. The developer, TND, will likewise submit its subsidy request in the winter 2020 funding round. Again, construction is unlikely in 2020.
So that we would understand what projects that we have going, and I would like to see a better timeline when these projects get approval, and whether or not we can speed up that process so that we can get them online and start receiving some tax benefit from it.
Okay. Council recognizes Councilor Recupero.
I wanted to ask a question to the city manager. If in Forbes, in the 590 units, what is the percentage of affordable housing in it?
Through the chair, the council asked if the city manager has the number of affordable units that will be located at the Forbes site.
10%, 59 units. They went under the alternative approach to have various levels of affordability and got the 10% requirement. So 59 units will be affordable.
Thank you. Moving on to items F. Dear councilors, I am writing in response to the recent City Council order requesting that I work with Chelsea Community Cable Television to expand its coverage of city business to include meetings of certain boards and commissions. On Friday, December 27th, 2019, I met with Chelsea Cable Executive Director Paula Batchelor to discuss this matter. Chelsea Cable is willing to expand its coverage to board meetings, starting initially with meetings of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Licensing Commission, and the Traffic and Parking Commission. The only issue remaining is to determine which of those meetings will be carried live or on tape delay. In order to broadcast live meetings, the meetings must take place in the City Council chambers. That is the only venue that can accommodate a live broadcast. Naturally, the City Council must grant permission for the boards and commissions of the city to utilize these chambers for such meetings, including the use of the council chairs and microphones, the only way to ensure proper sound recordings. If the council approves, I will then notify the boards that the City Council chambers will be the location for future meetings. Otherwise, we will arrange for the meetings to be broadcast on tape delay. Is there a motion to Councilor Bedell?
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually moved this to a subcommittee on conference so we can kind of work out the kinks and get some of these public meetings televised.
Thank you.
There are no objections. Sorry.
Wait, the next communication, free cash requests.
Could you read the headings on each request?
Just the bold.
Continuation of the streetlight improvement program for $400,000. New signage programs for $150,000. Beacon Street ramp improvements, $100,000. Additional building maintenance funds, $150,000. Massport soundproofing, $300,000. Downtown events public art, $100,000. New barrels, $50,000. Holiday decorations, $30,000. Hooper Street retaining wall, $350,000. Debris disposal at City Yard, $350,000. Willow Street drainage analysis, $250,000. Upper Broadway project retained earnings, water, $900,000, and sewer, $900,000.
Upper Broadway project, do you agree with that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Accept and file the communication on the suspension. There'll be orders coming up on the new business.
Would you like to move this to Committee on Finance?
Yes.
Through the chair? Yes.
I'm not sure who I'm asking, but is this outside of CIP? Is this just regular random cash requests that we're asking?
That would be spending outside of CIP. It is out of the free cash.
And when does the CIP come before us?
Next month.
Next month.
Why, can we ask the city manager why we're doing this? If we're having a CIP next month, why we're having these random requests?
It's a valid question. I will ask the city manager. The question is, why is the city manager proposing that we take money out of free cash for items that could be included in the CIP, upcoming CIP?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
These are all items that I want to move on in this fiscal year. The CIP won't free up money until middle of August at the earliest. So any project that I want to try to commence before the middle of August needs to be done sort of out of sequence with the CIP. These are projects that were not part of the FY20 CIP because they're all kind of unique situations that have arisen, and some of them I wouldn't pursue if I didn't have significant free cash available, but we do have significant free cash available.
Chair recognizes Councilor Recupero.
So, Mr. Tom, so the Massport soundproofing you're gonna try to give before the CIP?
If the council approves the Massport soundproofing piece, so that's a little bit of a unique one. That's not something I would put in a CIP. What I've said to the council, because it really wants this program, is in years where we have significant free cash, I'm willing to make this recommendation. So this was a year where we had significant free cash, so I'm making this recommendation.
If you approve this, anybody can go and get it now.
Well, no. If you approve this request sometime in the next month, it'll likely take about a month and a half to set up the account. That's typically the time frame for getting the financial paperwork in order. Then you have to set up criteria for this program. This is a program in particular where the city and the council need to work together because $300,000 is not a lot of money. You will have many, many people looking for this money, and you'll be able to give out very few grants. You're going to have a lot of disappointed constituents when you commence this program.
Councilor Recupero, we're going to be meeting on this in subcommittee, and it'll be an easier time to ask the questions and work out the kinks, so we'll wait till then, if you don't mind. Next
The next
communication.
communication is quarterly hiring report. Dear councilors, pursuant to an Administrative Code Section 112.02, I have enclosed the required statistical quarterly report on hiring for the 12-month period from January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. I'll be available to answer any questions.
There's no objections?
Seeing none, so moved.
That's it on communication from the city manager. We now have communications and petitions to the council. We have a copy of a communication received from Ms. Lauren Lykow regarding the Foundation Trust.
I move to accept and file the communication under suspension. If there are no objections, the gentleman spoke during public speaking.
The next communication is a copy of a communication received from Mr. Thomas Horgan Esquire from Hanley Law Offices regarding the New England Police Benevolent Association, Inc. petition for certification.
Under suspension, if there's no objections.
And the final communication is a copy of a communication received from the city parking clerk, Jeanette Centron White, regarding the actions approved at the January 7th, 2020 Traffic and Parking Commission meeting.
Anyone? Chair recognizes Judith Garcia to accept and file under suspension. If there are no objections.
New business.
We're under new business.
Yes.
Ordered that the City Council authorize a transfer of $818 representing the unexpended portion of a $50,000 operating budget authorized from CIP fiscal year 2020 Fire Department SCBA Cylinders Project. Account 012205858000, account series to CIP FY20 Fire Department AED Units Project 012205858000, account series operating budget. What is the will of the council?
If there's no objections.
Next order introduced by Councilor Robinson. Order that pursuant to Section 4-31 of the Chelsea City Charter, Chelsea City Council approved the cost items set forth in the collective bargaining agreement negotiated with the Massachusetts Municipal Library employees. Chelsea Chapter Local 708, Massachusetts State Council 93, memorialized in a memorandum of agreement for fiscal years 2020 to 2022, dated December 18, 2019.
Council Robinson moves that it gets adopted under suspension.
No.
Oh, sorry.
We need a roll call vote on it, Mr. President.
Clerk will call a roll. A yes vote will adopt the measure.
Leah Robertson, roll call.
Yes.
Councilor Zabit?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
Councilor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero? Councilor Robertson?
Yes.
Councilor Brown? Yes. Councilor Vido? Yes. Councilor Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez? Yes. Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
And Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
11 in favor, none opposed, motion adopted. The next order introduced by Councilor Robinson. Ordered that to fund the collective bargaining agreement negotiated with the Massachusetts Municipal Library Employees Chelsea Chapter Local 708, Massachusetts State Council for fiscal year 2020. The Chelsea City Council authorizes the transfer of $4,500 from the salary reserve to the FY 2020 Library Department salaries account.
Move for a roll call vote on the adoption.
Go second reading on that.
Moves for a second reading on that.
Second reading on that one.
Item E.
Item E, D, I think.
D.
Yep. Ordered that the city hereby accepts the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws C-60 and 3F for the purpose of creating a Veterans Assistance Fund and operating such fund in full accordance with the statute.
I'd ask for a roll call vote on the adoption, if there are no objections.
Seeing none.
This is just,
one adoption.
this is accepting the provision. That's all.
Adoption of the provision needs no second reading, but if you choose to,
If you want it, then go to second reading.
choose to. Okay,
So what's
move to a second reading.
Okay, Calvin?
Yep.
Item 10E, introduced by Councilor Avellaneda. Ordered by this vote, the Chelsea City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to commence design work on option 2 for a one-way Broadway that includes one lane of vehicle traffic with a shared bike bus lane between Fifth Street and Everett Avenue, provided that a pilot program be commenced prior to finalizing such design that will test the shared bike bus lane and allow for redesign in the event that the pilot is unsuccessful.
The chair recognizes Councilor Judith Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for a roll call vote, and I wish to speak on it briefly.
You may.
Thank you. So essentially what is in front of us, as you may have heard, is voting on the option 2 for one-way Broadway, and this would include the bus lane. So essentially if anyone was here for the public speaking portion, one of our key stakeholders summed it up very well. This is from all the 4 options that the council body was presented with in a course of over a year. There were 4 options. Option 2 is the option that seems to make most sense in terms of accommodating all traffic flow, including those residents who depend and rely on the bus so much. So this would accommodate bike lane, and it would also accommodate a bus lane, a designated bus lane, to allow our residents to not only get to work, but also to their appointments, and also for any other necessity that our residents need to travel to Boston. So it's a matter of access. It's a matter of accommodating all of our residents, not only the vehicular traffic that I know is so concerning, but also accommodating those who rely so much on public transportation, also other options of transportation, including bikes, and also pedestrians. We're talking about one of the cities that is, one of the streets that's heavily busy, and we have a lot of pedestrians that we often forget about need to cross the streets. And this project is a holistic project that not only is seeking to accommodate traffic, but is also seeking to slow it down so our pedestrians can cross the street in a way that is safe, because it is no secret to us that in the past years we have had a handful of folks who have unfortunately died in accidents. So I highly encourage the new elected officials who have an opportunity to really have an impact today. Also my colleagues who have been listening and hearing testimonies of not only experts, but also residents who are in support of this motion. And as the city councilor that represents the heart of Chelsea, which is Broadway, I highly, highly hope that you support option 2 so we can get started and we have the impact to do something in our community and do it now. There is no more room for waiting. No more subcommittees, no more of this. So I really hope you guys can take a vote today so we can get started. Thank you.
Councilor Rideau.
Yeah, I just want to add on to what my sister councilor so eloquently said. This is a pilot program to kind of check it out to make sure that this is the path forward. There's been a lot of work, a lot of meetings that we've had in the community amongst us to try to figure out what is the best path moving forward for this redesigning Broadway. Option 2 was the one that seemed that most people seem to have agreed on, but where we're making such a drastic change, we wanted to make sure that we were at least trying it out temporarily to make sure that it'll work. I know the city council is looking, the city administration is looking to invest a lot of resources in making this happen. Option 2 is, quite frankly, the one that I prefer as well. As my councilor said, that it accommodates most modes of traffic, including pedestrians, bikes, transit, and vehicular traffic. So I just wanted to be clear that this is just a pilot program. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Recupero.
She said what I was going to ask. This is not effective. It's just they're trying it. So if you don't agree, later on, before it comes, you come up and you say, we don't want it. This is just trying it. It's only trying it. It's not going to be permanent. It'll be permanent later on when we say it's permanent. Right now, it's just a trial period.
Thank you. Councilor Robinson.
Yes, I'm in support of this, and actually, this has been hanging out here before this council for the past 2 years. I think it's appropriate that we move on this. We're missing opportunities to apply for state monies. I think we could be in the next round to maybe go after $5 million. But I'd also like to amend it that the sidewalks that are going to be bumped out where the bus stops are, on one side, and not making both sidewalks expanded.
So Counselor Robinson makes a motion to amend the design so that it states, amendment to design work on option 2 for one-way Broadway that would retain current Broadway sidewalk widths except at bus stops and crosswalks, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you like to speak on that amendment?
I did.
Oh, just, okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is something that we've worked really hard on. We've worked, I'm sure all the former councilors is coming back. 9 of us here, 8 of us here, the 3 new councilors. I think it's really unfair that we're really pushing this big, huge project on them at this first meeting of our council meeting. We understand it. We've had some really tough conversations, some public hearings, but it's still a major, major change to our community. I would feel more comfortable if we just gave the council members maybe a month or so to look at it and just go with it. I mean, it's unfair. I remember the last council when we came on, they said the same thing, and we waited. So I was part of that council. And now to come up to make this the first vote of the 2020 election cycle, to have these folks to come up to really not been able to speak with the city manager on it, not been able to look at it, it's just really, it's a lot. If they feel comfortable with it, I feel comfortable with it. But I just think we should have a little more courtesy for them. Thank you.
So Councilor Brown asked to a motion to lay on the table. No? No?
Oh, you didn't have?
You object to what?
No, he didn't.
I didn't make a
Councilor
motion.
Brown made a motion to lay on the table.
No,
No, I did not.
to the chair. He didn't ask to lay it on the table. He wanted to move it to conference.
Move a conference or a second reading?
No, I mean,
I object.
Hold on a second. I want, members, please. I'm asking Councilor Brown to clarify his intent.
love to get it to a conference, if we can get it for a conference, and maybe we can have this on the second week in February. There's really no hurry. If there is some hurry that I'm not aware of, if we can suspend the rules and have the city manager ask us what time we have. Thank you.
Councilor Brown has a motion to send to conference. We'll have a simple roll call whether or not this goes to conference. Councilor Lopez.
To that, I think the new councilors have been listening, and some of them have come to the meeting, so I will object for that.
Councilor Vido, on the motion to send to conference.
I just want, too am opposed to it. This conversation has been happening for way more than even the last 2 years that Councilor Brown has been on City Council. We have been having this conversation for 3 years or more. A lot of work has gone into this. This is a pilot program. We have had ample meetings in which I know that even the new members of this City Council are familiar with this because they are very well involved in the community. I think that we have enough information here to make a decision, and then it's time that we make one. I think that we all have all the information we need. It's not like this is, there's nothing new. I wanted to speak on the amendment, but I guess I'll wait till that comes before us. All right, so as far as the subcommittee on conference, then I totally object to it. I think we have enough information that we need, and we need to get moving. I think we owe it to the residents of the city to make decisions.
Clerk will call a roll on the motion to send this to conference.
Yes would send it to conference, no would not send it to conference, and you would act on the next amendment introduced by Councilor Robinson. Yes to send it to conference, no not to send it to conference. Councilor Zabit?
No.
Councilor Garcia?
No.
Councilor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero?
No.
Councilor Robinson? No. Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Vido?
No.
Councilor Maldonado?
No.
Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Avellaneda?
No.
And Councilor Lopez?
No.
2 in favor, 9 opposed. The amendment is defeated.
We are back to the original question, which was an amendment offered by Councilor Leo Robinson, that the option 2 plan
retain existing Broadway sidewalk width. If there is any comments on the amendment solely to keep the current width only on this. Councilor Vido.
I am supporting the project as was presented by our planning department. I think that we have been having this conversation for several years, and I don't think, out of respect of the work that everyone has put into this, for us to be amending it on the fly, on the floor. I respect and trust all the consultants and all the people that have contributed to this conversation and presenting the project to us. I will be voting for the project as is, therefore voting against this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else on the amendment? Councilor Robinson, the maker of the amendment.
In regards to the amendment, the reason being is that we keep kicking around public safety, and if we don't bump out the sidewalk by the bus stops, we're going to still be in the same dilemma that we're in right now with the cars going down Broadway in the manner in which they do. That's why I offered the amendment.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, that's why I asked it to go to conference, so we can get this out the way. Again, we come up, and I understand what's been said here, but again, you're making a significant change in the program, even as we vote in favor of it today. Everyone is, well, not everyone, but there's a lot of council members saying this is going to be a pilot program, but I'm sure there's not one council can tell you when the pilot plan is going to start and end. Because I believe once we vote for this, we're fully voting for this to be a project that's going to stick and a project that we're going to use. So I just wanted my colleagues to be aware of what you were voting for. I just think that, especially with the new light of the amendment, we have to be very careful about this. This is a significant move in our city, and it's very, very important that we stick with the plan. Thank you.
Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So again, I don't want to continue and with the same topic, but I myself will also vote on this motion the way it was presented by the experts of our city. I don't find the need to extend this to another subcommittee when we've already had 2 to 3 years of meetings of subcommittees. Again, what is presented in front of us is just allowing us to give Tom Ambrosino, our city manager, the order to commence this project and stop delaying it the way we have. We have created a wonderful theory and project, but now it's time to execute. There's no more delays, no more chances of educating ourselves. Our newly elected officials have showed up to these meetings, and I've seen them there. So I know that this does not mean, by giving Tom Ambrosino the order, does not mean it's the last motion. We will have the opportunity to continue to make changes and enhancements as we move on. So, however, going back to the amendment, I am not supporting the amendment. I am supporting the way it was presented to us as is by our city employees and the experts that presented this. So, that being said, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Lopez.
Amendment is not in front of us.
It was offered verbally. The clerk can read the amendment as it was verbally stated.
The amendment read to design work on option 2 for one-way Broadway that would retain current Broadway sidewalk widths except at bus stops and crosswalks.
Okay. Seeing that both the Vice President and the senior member have spoken on this matter, is there any objection to me speaking from the podium? Seeing none. I understand the maker's option or amendment. The amendment would allow us to design for option 2, have the bike shared, bus shared lane, and retain 1 lane of traffic, but not expand, according to the documents presented to us, 2 feet out of the current sidewalk width, and in addition to the bump outs that will happen at bus stops and crosswalks. I share his concern, actually. I am afraid of what that extension of the existing sidewalks will do. Tonight, driving by, I think that we are really altering a historic look of Broadway. There was no clear benefit to the expansion of the sidewalks themselves versus addition of the shared lane. And if we ever decided to go back in any sort of configuration, you're making a serious infrastructure extension. I am of the opinion that we need to do a better job, the city, with its infrastructure on the sidewalks themselves, the tree pits that are not filled, the stationing of where the sidewalks are, and such. Retaining the current width of the sidewalks, I think, is in the best interest overall, and I will be supporting that amendment. It would not change having a bike share lane and design. It would just keep the existing sidewalks lane, except at crosswalks and at bus stops. They would continue to expand to the current configuration presented. So if there's no other speakers, the clerk will be calling out the roll call. A yes vote will support the amendment and keep existing sidewalk widths. A no will defeat it, and we will be voting on the original motion.
Councilor Zabit?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia?
No.
Councilor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Vido?
No.
Councilor Maldonado?
Present.
No, you can't vote present.
Okay, so, yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
And Councilor Lopez?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed.
The
The
amendment
amendment
has
carries.
passed.
The motion is adopted.
Motion adopted. We now go back to voting on the original with the amendment to have a shared bus lane with one lane of traffic. Is there a motion? I'm sorry, there was a motion, So is there any speaking now on this particular issue if you've not spoken before?
It is. It carries the motion.
It carries everything. Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a while. I'm learning all over again. Yes.
How can this delay the project, or will it?
It will not delay the project. Design will go forward with the current street configuration, except with bump outs and a bike bus share lane.
I have a question too.
We'll ask it.
Question. So we didn't shrink the sidewalks. The sidewalks are staying the same, right?
That is correct.
That was that all about. So instead of us making the sidewalk smaller, we keep them the same way.
No.
Instead of the
Enlarging it, making it bigger.
clarification for the public, option 2 was going to expand the existing sidewalks 2 feet out on either side. The current, what has passed tonight is we will have a bike share lane with the sidewalks retaining the same size. All that has changed that we are implementing a bike share lane downtown Broadway, which will have a pilot program for 9 months per city manager.
The only extension is where the buses
With the only extensions being at the crosswalks and the bus stops. There will be existing.
You have financial orders introduced under 11F all the way to 11S. You want to refer them all to second readings?
Councilor Brown asked that, Councilor Robinson, finance was.
Councilor Robbins moves all second readings.
Move
Okay.
all 6 orders.
More than that, yeah.
More?
Oh, yeah, look at them.
Okay.
All,
All the
uh,
financial orders that regarding or
Transfers.
transfers of funds from FY '20 to FY '20 has been moved to a second reading.
Okay. Now we have item 11T on your agenda on new orders. Order introduced by Council Avellaneda, order that an amendment to City Council Rule 22 be made so that the appointment to standing committees consist of only 3 members.
Councilor Robinson, would you mind taking the podium as VP has exited the room?
Need a motion, Leo.
Chair recognizes Council Avellaneda. We need a motion.
Thank you. I move to adopt on a roll call vote, and if I can, speak on the motion.
You have the floor, Councilor.
This order would make a change in our city council rules. Currently, members, if you take a look at our subcommittees, we have a mix of 3 members and 5 members. I think that one of my goals as president is to make our subcommittees more effective and meet more often than what we've had in the past. A key to that, I believe, is to reduce the size of those committees to just one size, and that is 3. In addition to making them, I believe, more effective, we have seen that would not preclude any city councilor who's interested in attending any of those subcommittee meetings from attending. I will point out that our Finance Committee, specifically when former Councilor Bob Bishop was the head, had subcommittees on the finance, and even though it was only 3 members, many non-members or many councilors attended the meetings and were able to talk and ask questions. I think that in order to ensure that we at least minimum reach quorum for some of these subcommittees, that we have just 3 members. I think, again, it'll be more effective. And again, anyone who's invited to attend those meetings will be able to speak. So I ask some discretion here from my colleagues to allow me to make this change and hope that we have a vibrant and effective subcommittee councils. Thank you.
From the chair, the Committee on Conference will stay as a whole.
That's correct.
Okay.
The Committee on Conference would not be adjusted.
Okay. Chair recognizes Council Bidot.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I am not necessarily against this or for it, but as the former president, we held a lot of subcommittee on conferences, and I think that I am in agreement with the president of the council that we do need to divvy up some of those meetings down to the other subcommittees. So I'm in favor of that. But I don't feel comfortable giving that authority right here on the floor. I would like to hear more about why is it that our counselors before us even thought that we should have had 5 people on certain subcommittees. What is the mentality behind the creation of it to begin with before we go suspending a rule that has been in the books for years? I would like to have further conversation on it, maybe send this to a subcommittee on conference or subcommittee on rules and ordinances, but I think that it should have more conversations. But I'm all for creating any system that's going to allow us to be more effective and get more work done.
Councilor Recupero.
Is this with the intent that to have a quorum? Is this the intent of going to 3 instead of 5? Is that your intent?
Through the chair.
Okay, if that's your intent, that's not a bad intent. So you want to do it. Sometimes you can't get a quorum because 5 of us don't show up. So you want to do it with 3. So that's what you had to say. That's what you want to do. You want to change it over so we can all get a quorum. So you only need 2 people to go and do it. Because at the end, there's still 6 of us that has to decide what happens. So there's nothing wrong with what you want to do, if that's your intent. Is that your intent?
That, the answer is it would give you enough room to have a quorum. So if 2 members show up and 1 member can't show up, you'll be able to conduct business. If we go to 5 or whatever and 2 members or 3 members don't show up, can't conduct business. So that'll be the council to decide how they want to deal with that. That's the maker of the motions, it's intent. Right. Chair recognizes Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am okay with this motion. I think at the end of the day, the goal is to have more interactive commissions, and this provides a more intimate setting where colleagues can be a little more active and perhaps more proactive in participation. And something that one of our colleagues already alluded to is the idea of having quorum. I must admit, some of the chatter that's going on here on the sides is that we usually do have quorum when we need 6 members for a conference. That's not an issue, but the value that I see on this specific motion in front of me is, you're keeping a more intimate space, less cooks in the kitchen, to have more intense dialogue or more interactive dialogue. I do also believe in the importance of participating and all of us being a part of those conversations, but having that intimate setting can potentially lead to wonderful things. So I don't see an issue with this. You're not eliminating the voice of others, and that's where the power of subcommittees and conferences come in. Whenever we have a big issue that we need everyone's voice in, then we can have that, but I don't think this should be a very prolonged debate. It's a small motion, so I'm in support of it.
Any other councilors on the motion?
Roll call.
The clerk will ask for a roll call.
Yes to change the rule, no not to change the rule. Councilor Zabit?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
Councilor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
No.
Councilor Vido?
No.
Councilor Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
And Councilor Lopez.
Yes.
9 in favor, 2 opposed. The motion to change the rule has been adopted.
Thank you. Next order of business.
Next order of business, co-sponsored by Councilor Recupero and Councilor Lopez, request that the city manager instruct DPW to survey and fix every street light that is not working in every district.
Chair recognizes Councilor Lopez.
Adopt under the suspension. If there's no objection, I would like to speak on it.
Seeing none, you may speak.
Thank you. Councilor Recupero and I, we got together to see all the lights that are out in the city. Actually, I have been an advocate since I started to fix all these lights. And I have seen so many lights out of the city that are not fixed. They're not working properly. They do one here, one over there, but they don't go around. Like every avenue has few of them out. Arlington Street, Maverick Street has 2. For over 2 years, hasn't been fixed. So I just need the contractor who gets paid for this to do the job. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Councilor Recupero.
Whatever my fellow councilor said, it's right. The city hires a contractor to go out and check out all the lights. I can say myself, I don't go out and check every light in my district. Most councilors do not go out and check every light in their district because it's at night, so they don't do it. So the only time we know is what they call us and say, this is the pole you got to replace. So if we have a company that specifically, the purpose of it is for that, we should make them do it. At least once a month, go out and say, hey, this light's broken. It needs to be fixed. Like there's a light that's been broken on my district for about a month. And it's still the same way. So this is what we need. We need them to come back and tell us that they fixed the lights in our district. Thank you.
Councilor Garcia.
I'll make it quick. I love these 2 colleagues of mine because they always bring very creative and important orders that are needed in our city. I just might add that I can't wait to hear from Tom Ambrosino on this project because today in front of us, just a few minutes ago, he asked us for $400,000 on streetlight improvement program. So if the 2 of you can come up with a list, I think your motion is amazing. So if we can make those $400,000 go beyond the streets listed here, which are Chester Ave, Shawmut, Wester, and Spencer, that'd be fabulous. I also see I also see streetlights along Fifth, which I think is important, but as the two counselors here alluded, we need to make sure that this happens throughout our city. So $400,000 should be able to cover that, but thank you.
Councilor Robinson.
The lights on Fifth Street have been out on the left-hand side for about a month and a half now. I guess it was a transformer that was done by the people working on the bridge, put it out for a while. So, just for the record.
From the chair, just a point of information, I am aware that one of our residents, and I believe a constituent of yours, I can't think of Joe's last name, but he participates in the senior work-off discount program, and he spends time going around looking at streetlights for this very same issue. So if there are any seniors who are as able-bodied as Joe is, who want to be part and also count our streetlights to see which ones are not working, I encourage them to work with Mike Sandoval and participate in this counting of non-working streetlights. Next order.
Order introduced by Council Recupero and Council Lopez. Request that the city manager provide an update on police patrol of Sector 4.
Under suspension, if there's no objection,
Chair
I'd like to speak on
recognizes
it.
Councilor Recupero to adopt under suspension. You may speak.
The only thing we're asking for is an update to let us know how Sector 4 is. We just want to know how the police patrol are doing, if there's any change at all, if they implemented it where they have more patrols doing the patrolling. That's all we want to know, if it got better or it got worse. Just an update.
Any comments? Next order.
Order introduced by Council Recupero. Request that the city manager look into how the city can make a community center.
The chair recognizes Councilor Recupero.
I'd like to adopt under suspension, I'd like to speak on it.
You may.
For many, many years, I was talking about having a community center. A community center is the lifeblood of a community. It brings everybody from different parts, and it doesn't only cater to one person. It caters to everybody, no matter the age. And our city is growing. It's supposed to be a great city, but we lack. We're behind other cities in community centers. East Boston has 4. I know that Boston's a big city and has a lot of money, and the thing is, where are we going to get the money? There's always a place to get the money. We find money. There's nothing wrong. We're trying. We don't have one. We have, for the Boys and Girls Club, we even have community schools, but the community schools cannot handle our community. You go to the community schools, I went to learn guitar. There was only 10 people. What happened if 50 want to learn? You know, you can't handle the load that we have. So we need to change it. We need to have something that handles the load of our city. The community schools, yes, is a good thing. The Boys and Girls Club is a good thing. But yet, they can't handle the load. Maybe it's time the city itself has a community center for the whole community. Thank you.
Clerk will read the next order.
Next order introduced by Councilor Recupero. Request that the city manager look into a way that the city can have a homeless shelter for the homeless.
Is there a motion in front of the council?
Adopt under suspension, I'd like to speak on it.
The chair recognizes Councilor Recupero.
I know that the churches do work, because I've been in one of their things when they go and count them. I know they do work and they make sure that people have a place, but it's not enough. The city has to have something else to help, because our community is getting more and more homeless people. We might not think it is, but it is. Go under the bridge, go over the park, go near my district. They had a tent city. As a city manager knows, they had to knock it down. So we should try to do something. I don't know what we can do. It's not my expertise. The city itself should do something. I don't know what we're going to do. What can we do? Can we give more money to the churches to bring more people in? Or can we rent rooms where these people go? Or can we have a place where they can go take a shower? Or they can, I don't know. That's not my thing. My thing is just to bring the question to you, the council, and you and the city manager, maybe figure out some way to help even the homeless people. Thank you.
The clerk would read the next order.
The final order is introduced by Councilor Vido. Order that a subcommittee and conference be held to discuss the implementation of a real estate transfer fee on properties sold in Chelsea and the feasibility of funding home ownership or scholarship programs with monies collected.
Chair recognizes Councilor Vido.
I make a motion to adopt unanimously into suspension if there are no objections, and I'd like to speak on it.
Seeing none. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a hot topic right now in the state. A lot of people are talking about it. In the past, it required a home rule petition, but now it's something that is actually, there's a bill at the State House right now for municipalities to have the option to impose a real estate transfer fee that would create some type of revenue for maybe affordable housing or affordable home ownership. I would like for us to have a conversation on it. I know that it's a controversial topic and some people think that it's municipal overreach. Actually, that was the exact term that they used today in the article that came out in the Boston Globe today. But I just think that, I know that there's a number circulating around when people talk about this transfer fee about $400,000, meaning that if somebody buys a house for $400,000, that there's a transfer fee that would be imposed. Now, for me, knowing that $400,000 in Chelsea for you to buy a home, if we really want to encourage home ownership, that would be an impediment on someone that wants to. So I would like for us to get creative and look at what is the medium sale price in Chelsea, and then start building there. I'm not looking to hurt home buyers. I'm looking to shelter them. What I don't want to do is shelter all the investors that are coming in here and investing in our community when we have an opportunity to impose a transfer fee that could be used for creating creative programs for people to incentivize upward mobility in our community and people to buy homes, or is there a possibility for us to create scholarships for our young people? So I just want, while I know that the conversation that's happening across the state it kind of looks a certain way, we have the opportunity to really tailor this however we want. And so I would like for us to sit down in a room and really talk about it and see how it could be creative to make sure that we're bringing something useful to our community. Also, there's something coming up tomorrow at the State House. I will be advocating for many tenant protections with a couple of my colleagues, supporters, elected officials across the state, pardon me, tomorrow at the State House. So if there's anybody that wants me to spread a message on with relation to this, please feel free to use me as your voice. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having this conversation so we can figure out how we can best support our community. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, that is passed under suspension. Do we have any announcements? Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tomorrow is a very important day, going off this idea of advocacy and us having the opportunity to put our voices out there. Green Roots is actually they're gathering a group of residents to speak at an Eversource board meeting that they're having regarding a substation that is set to be placed in East Boston, and it will have a direct impact in Chelsea. Again, this places a lot of hazards for our residents. So we are inviting residents, any elected officials here, any key stakeholder that can go out there and join Green Roots in their efforts. There will be a meeting tomorrow, public hearing with Eversource on their design plan, and of course the hint is to speak against this project because it brings a lot of hazards to our city. And this is tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. at East Boston High School. So tomorrow, Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. at East Boston High School, a group of Chelsea residents, activists, and hopefully elected officials will be there to speak against this project that will present a huge hazard to us. So it's important that we stay connected, that we listen, that we participate, because it is when we do not participate that these things happen in the background. So let's get out there and let's speak against this. Thank you.
Thank you. I will note that tomorrow night there is the zoning board hearing, and it's at 6 p.m. And I have a couple of announcements. I wanted to thank my colleagues for allowing me some discretion here. If you have any desire to be on any particular boards, subcommittees, please let me know. What was not mentioned here tonight, but I want to eradicate any sort of concern, that rule did not have any impact on the makeup of the Charter Committee. That is not a committee that is under the discretion or that order. Yes, the president has the power to appoint the special, and I want to just announce here tonight, I am not looking to reinvent the wheel. The process has been set in place in the past. The last time that the Charter Review Committee met, it was comprised of 13 members. It had 5 city councilors, 3 school committee members, and 5 members of the community. I will look to do the same. If there's any member of the city council who wants to be part of that 5, please make your intentions known. I will go forward and let the chair of the school committee know that there are 3 spots. I will let her have discretion on who are the 3 committee members from the school committee. We will look forward to reaching out to the general public for Chelsea residents who want to participate, 5 to be on a charter review. And at that point, I will allow them to choose a chair who will run. I will not be on the city charter committee. I will just let them do the work and remain as, if I have any suggestions, so to speak, I'll make them as most of my other colleagues would, suggestion, and let the committee do its work. But that will be the setup. And again, please let me know if you have any interest in serving on any of the boards mentioned. Thank you. With that, if there's any moments of silence, seeing none, this committee is over.